Hey, it's Anna Root. I am making my first cooking video. A lot of people have asked me about how do you cook canned beans? How do you can dried beans? Why would you even want to can dried beans? Well, it's actually pretty awesome. I'm going to assume that you know how to use a pressure cooker and that you own one. Here's one of mine. I have a bunch. And I assume that you already cook beans and you know about cooking beans. The advantage of cooking your own beans, obviously, is that it's cheaper and you can have a greater selection of the kinds of beans that you want to eat. The advantage of canning them at home is there's almost no mess. You're cooking the beans right inside of a jar, and as many jars as your pressure cooker will hold. You don't have to cook only one kind of bean at a time. You can cook several kinds of beans at a time. And the best thing about it is if you cook a pan full of beans, they're already put away for you. You just use the one jar that you want and put the rest in the cupboard. And I'm going to assume that generally the size of your pressure cooker determines the size of the family that you're cooking for. So somebody with a big pressure cooker cooking for a lot of people will use larger sized jars like these. I'm only cooking for a couple people and we don't eat a lot of beans. But we do eat some beans and I like putting them in soup. So I have a smaller pressure cooker. It's right here. So the first thing you need to do is make sure you have one of these to put in the bottom. I pick them up at the Salvation Army sometimes. It doesn't have to be the one that came in your cooker, but you do want to keep the jars off the bottom of the pan. That's just basic pressure canning 101. But I'm not going to teach you pressure canning, and if you want to learn more about techniques and safety, just go online. What I am going to show you though is you need to find jars that fit inside your pressure cooker. In my case, I can put jars that are 1 cup at the highest, and that still allows me to close the lid. I've tested it before. Another thing that you can do if you have the right size jars and pressure cooker is if you want to cook even smaller amounts, maybe a ½ cup at a time, you can stack them. As long as they'll fit in your pressure cooker, you can stack jars up. You just want to make sure you leave probably at least 1/4 of the volume empty. The pressure cooker works by, building pressure, so there needs to be some airspace in there so that the pressure can build. Right. So today we are cooking black-eyed peas, garbanzo beans, kidney beans, and black beans. So let me show you how you know how many beans to put in your jar. How much beans can I cook? It's actually pretty easy. Whatever size jar you're using, 1/4 of the volume. So this is a 1 cup size jar, so I have a 1/4 cup of beans. I'm going to put it in the jar, just like this. And then this one I did earlier, you can see how dark the water is. I soaked the beans in the jar, which is the easiest way to do it. Let me dump this one out and I'll show you what happens. We went from this amount of beans, let's see, here I'll put it against my skin. You can see the volume increases. They soak up all the water. It's important to reconstitute your beans, to rehydrate them before you cook them. That allows them to cook more evenly. And so all these beans should cook in the same amount of time. Also more evenly in terms of the individual beans. You'll notice when you put them on to soak, some of them swell up really quickly and some of them don't. You want all your beans to be the same level of doneness at the same time, and soaking them first ensures that. So here we go. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4. Let me empty this one. I'll be right back. We have 5 jars of beans. So now what I'm going to do is take these 5 jars. and add some salt. For a 1 cup jar, I'll probably put a half a teaspoon of salt. Half a teaspoon of salt into each jar. You can do it to your own taste. I like to keep my salt in a bigger jar because I cook a lot and I use a lot of salt. This is just a GT James jar. Okay, and now I'm going to cover these with boiling water. There we go. You can add seasonings here if you want to. I wouldn't add anything acid because acid will keep the beans from getting soft, but you can add, you know, some herbs or whatever. In a future video, I'll show you how to can bean soup. And that's a great way to use up vegetables and have something tasty in your cupboard. That's very easy. So now we're going to screw the lids on. We're leaving some airspace in the top. You can fill the jar up to the line, but you need to leave a little bit of space in there. And you want to screw them on nice and tight. If the water comes out too much, the beans won't cook properly. 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, that's it. It's it. It's so easy. Now I'm just going to cook them. So for jars this size, anything a pint or under, you want to cook for about an hour, which is about how long it would take dried beans to cook anyway. So you're saving money. Now, I don't know if you can see, but there's a little bit of space left. Another jar won't fit in. I could put a really small, like half a cup jar into the center, but I'm not going to bother. So I want to add just enough water that I think will last the whole hour, but not more, because I want to leave head space for steam and pressure to build up. It'll work a lot better that way. I'm going to add a little more water. So these beans are mostly grocery store beans, but I have some beans from Cayuga Pure Organics and some beans from Tony Potenza. If you can get local organic beans dried, that is the very best way. And the very best reason for canning beans is you can have the convenience of canned beans and still be eating your organic local beans that weren't shipped from across the world. So here we go. I'm going to put this on the stove. And I'm turning it up to high. I'm going to let it come up to pressure. On my particular pressure cooker, this one's an old-fashioned one my friend Suze gave me. Thank you, Suze. It's going to rock when it's ready. So I want to put it on high, get it up a good head of steam until this thing's rocking really hard, and then I'm going to turn it down to, well, you'll know on your stove. On mine, it'll be about 4. I want to maintain the pressure without having too much pressure. And then I'll hold it at that for the full hour. So my camera, since it's on my phone, I'll have to have a second video to show you how they came out. But I can show you one that I made last week. Actually, I could show you 3 that I made last week. My daughter Eloise and I made some beans. So here is, I used a bigger pressure cooker for these, my pressure canner. I made some quarts. And yeah, cups. So this is a pint, I guess, wide mouth pint. I made these. You can see, you can use any kind of bean. You can make any size you want. If you're the kind of person that just wants a few beans to throw in your salad, and you want different beans every time, and you want some kind of weird beans that they don't sell in cans, You can do it. Just make little ones. You'll never throw away any beans again. You'll always have something on the shelf, and you'll be very happy. So that's it. That's how you can beans. Can you believe it's that easy? Once again, check the internet for information about food safety and canning and how to use your own particular pressure cooker. And so the next video will show you how it looks when it's all done. Okay,